Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be discussing the histology of the stomach. The learning objectives for today's lecture is that at the end of the lecture, the students should be able to identify the various parts of the stomach, discuss the microscopic features of the part of the stomach, and then discuss the various cells of the stomach. Before this, let's come to the parts of the stomach. The three histological regions of the stomach are first, the cardia between the esophagus and the stomach, the fundus or the body, and the pylorus over here, that is the junction of the duodenum with the stomach. So the fundus or the body constitute the most extensive region of the stomach, and like any other part of the GIT, it will exhibit the four general regions. Before that, let's come to this part called the rugae. Can you see this? Now, rugae are temporary folds produced by the contraction of the smooth muscle layer, the muscularis mucosae, and they are the macroscopic features of the stomach. This is an endoscopic view of the stomach showing the rugae. Now, so firstly, let's come to the first part of the stomach, that is the cardia. This is the cardia that is going to be found at the junction with the esophagus. So as you can see, these are the four layers exhibited. Now can you see that the stratified squamous epithelium converts dramatically, the dramatic change here into the columnar epithelium. So coming to the innermost part, that is the mucosa. The mucosa of the cardia, this part is the cardia. The epithelium is columnar with basal oval nuclei. Secretes mucus called the mucous surface cells. The goblet cells are absent over here. The minor propria contains small tubular glands. The most conspicuous feature over here is the dipping down of this epithelium. Okay, and this dipping down is what you call a gastric pit. This is a gastric pit. The submucosa, right? So you can see over here, so the epithelium has dipped down to form the gastric pit. This is the lamina propria, continues over here, which is packed with glands. These are the esophageal cardiac glands, excretory duct. This is the muscularis mucosae, which is delineating the mucosa. Okay, so here is the epithelium lining on the columnar epithelium on the basal membrane, dipping down to form the gastric pit. Lamina propria, so the lamina propria of the stomach, and then we have the muscularis mucosae. Coming to the submucosa over here, it contains basically connective tissue and the Meissner's plexus compared to the excretory gland and the esophageal glands proper present in the submucosa of the esophagus. The muscle layer is three thick layers, as you can see over here. These are three thick layers. Innermost oblique layer, circular middle layer, longitudinal outermost layer. Since stomach is a highly muscular organ, the muscularis externa has three layers. The outermost layer is the serosa, simply because the stomach is a complete intraperitoneal organ. Coming to the second part, that is the fundus or the body, very important part. The innermost lining is the mucosa. Okay, so this is your mucosa containing surface epithelium, lamina propria, and the muscularis mucosae. So the surface epithelium over here is simple columnar with basal nuclei, dipping down to form the gastric pit, which is nothing but tubular enfolding of the surface epithelium. So the surface epithelium is more clear over here. Can you see the simple columnar epithelium minus the goblet cells? And this is the basement membrane, it is lying on the basement membrane, dipping down to form the gastric pit. Please see that in the cardiac region, there is the mucous surface cell producing the mucus, not goblet cells, which are conspicuously absent in the cardia. Now, beneath the epithelium, this is your loose connective tissue containing the lamina propria, Also, it contains certain threads of the muscularis mucosae. Right. So the gastric glands. So this is the lamina propria. This is entire lamina propria. Please see this entire part is the mucosa. The mucosa is delineated by this layer, muscularis mucosae. So this entire is the mucosa. Epithelium have dipped down to form the gastric pit. Epithelium is simple columnar epithelium with basal nuclei. Now the lamina propria is packed with mucus glands, gastric glands that are opening in the bottom of the gastric pit. Okay. The surface epithelium contains a similar type of cells ranging from the cardiac to the pyloric region. Now you can also appreciate the thin, smooth muscle muscularis mucosae containing of an inner circular outer longitudinal layer forming the outer boundary of the mucosa. Right, and thin strands are also intervening in the lamina propria, and the gastric glands are between them. Okay, between these threads. Okay, so this is the submucosa that lies below the muscularis mucosa in empty stomach. The submucosa can extend into the rugae. Rugae you're already familiarized with. Now the submucosa here will contain dense irregular connective tissue and more collagen fiber, lymph vessels, capillaries, large arterioles, venules, and parasympathetic Meissner's nerve plexus. Okay, so the muscularis externa will consist of three layers: inner oblique, middle circular, and outer longitudinal. As you have seen over here, these are the muscularis externa layers. Okay, so in this section, so the next slide. Okay, so, right. So okay, here you can see this is the muscularis externa. This is the oblique muscle, circular muscle, and the longitudinal muscle. Now, the entire stomach will be lined by the serosa over here, which is a thin layer of connective tissue over the muscularis externa and has a simple squamous mesothelium of visceral peritoneum, may contain certain adipose cells. Now, very important part of the stomach is the cells that constitute the gastric glands. Okay, so there are two distinct cell types can be identified over here. So you can see that these reddish, this dark pinkish, or the acidophilic, these cells are called the parietal cells, located in the upper portion of the gland. These basophilic or bluish glands in color, or the zymogenic glands, are occupying the lower regions of the mucosa. Subglandular region of the lamina propria may also contain a lymphatic nodule, like you can see over here. Right, so the acidophilic parietal cells are more clear over here. Okay? These are more clear over here. And these are a chief of the zymogenic cells which are basophilic or bluish in appearance. Also, we have other important cells called the mucous neck cells. They are found at the neck. What exactly the neck is, we'll talk about further. Right, so this photo just I wanted to show you so that you have an idea of how the chief or the zymogenic cells look like. Yeah, this is it. Okay, these are your gastric glands. Lower down, bottom, as you can see, we have the muscularis mucosa. So this is the bottom part of the mucosa containing the chief or the zymogenic cells. Okay, so now this particular one gastric gland over here, it basically extends the length of the entire mucosa. In the deep region of the mucosa, the gastric glands may branch, and as a consequence of which it may appear transverse and oblique in sections. Each gastric gland contains three regions. At the junction of the gastric pit with the gastric gland, this is the isthmus, which is lined by the surface epithelial cells and the parietal cells over here. Now, just below that we have the neck containing the mucous neck cells, as you can see over here, and some parietal cells. The base or the fundus is the deep portion of the gland composed basically of chief or the zymogenic cells and few scattered parietal cells. The fundic glands also contain undifferentiated enterochromaffin cells secreting the hormones. Now I just want to show you, right. So I hope this is clear to you. This is one gastric pit. This is the isthmus with few the columnar cells and few parietal cells. Then we have the neck containing the mucous neck gland secreting the mucus scattered parietal cell, and the base will contain the zymogenic cells and the enteroendocrine cells. Okay. So the type of cells very important. The first one, we have the mucous neck cells located just below the gastric pit. The parietal cells very important. They are parietal cells stained uniformly acidophilic or pink, and you can clearly distinguish them. In contrast, we have the chief cells of the zymogenic cells, basophilic here. Mucous neck cells again located below gastric pit, and they are columnar in shape. Right here, here are the mucous neck cells, columnar in shape with the basal nuclei. It has mucinogenic granules in apical cytoplasm, produces soluble mucus compared to the insoluble one produced by the surface mucous cells. Where were they present, surface mucous cell? In the cardia. The second type of cells, the first one is the mucous neck cells, second is the stem cells, which are nothing but regenerative cells. The third important one is the parietal or the exentic cell. This is an electron microscopic view of the parietal cell. It basically stains dark pink and very important, it is secreting HCl and the intrinsic factor. Found in upper half of the gastric gland, which you have seen, they may be large, round or pyramidal in shape, wedged against the basement membrane, right? So they are wedged against the basement membrane. Now, the apical part shows certain infoldings. These are called your intracellular canaliculus, okay? And synthesis of HCl takes place over here. So it is happening in the canaliculus, not inside the cell. And this secretion is happening where at the tubulovesicular structures right under the microvilli found, which are secreting basically your HCl. The fourth cell type of cells are the chief or the zymogenic cells found in the lower third of the gastric glands. It has a basophilic stain, contain rough endoplasmic reticulum near the base. It has secretory granules and a small Golgi apparatus. Very important, it is secreting pepsinogen, which is converted to a proteolytic enzyme, pepsin, in acidic environment. The last or the fifth one is the endocrine or the apid cells, that are found in the basal portion of the glands, and they are containing secretory granules secreting serotonin, histamine, gastrin, and other endocrine cells. Right, so this is your parietal cell, okay, and here you can see that the HCl is formed inside the intracellular canaliculus. This is your zymogenic cells within apical zymogenic granules, a small Golgi complex, and lots of endoplasmic reticulum. So coming to the last part, that is the pylorus. As you can see in the pylorus, the parietal and the exentic cells, the chief cells, are conspicuously absent. They are absent in the pylorus, they are absent in the cardia. It is a feature of the fundus or the body of the stomach. So how do you distinguish the pylorus? The gastric pits are very deep, almost extending up to half the thickness of the mucosa, and it is lined by only one cell type. That is similar to the mucous neck cells. No parietal cell, no exentic cell, no nothing. Okay, and rest is the same. It is lamina propria, packed with glands, may have lymphatic nodule. This is your muscularis mucosae, the submucosa. and the muscularis externa of 3 layers found like the other parts of the stomach. Okay, so this is next time we will do the small intestine. The first part is the duodenum. So I just want you to show you the transition from the pylorus to the duodenum. Now, these are pictures from IB Singh, the one you are reading. So this is showing firstly the cardia. Can you see the cells are absent over here? This is your columnar epithelium, stratified squamous lining of the lower esophagus. This is your gastric pit. This is lamina propria, muscularis mucosae, submucosa, and the muscularis externa. Coming here, this is IB Singh picture of the fundus of the stomach, showing very important cells over here. They're all to be made. Okay, I hope you can make these diagrams. So the same. This is showing the pyloric part with deepened gastric pit and absence of cells, absence of other cells like peptic, parietal cell and oxygentic cell. Okay, so just go through this for a minute, just to show you. The stomach and its histological structure. So this is the stomach. You can see this is the cardiac part, pylorus part. This is the muscularis externa. You can see the rugae inside. This is the rugae. Here, so you can see the rugal folds. You can see the 3 layers: obliques, circular, smooth muscularis externa. This is your submucosa. This is your mucosa, muscularis mucosae. You can see the gastric pits over here. Your gastric pit lined by cells is the fundus part. Chief cell secreting pepsinogen in red, and the parietal cell secreting HCl in green. HCl converting pepsinogen into pepsin. Okay, so just to summarize the salient features of each region of the stomach: cardia, presence of cardiac gland, which are mucus secreting glands in the lamina propria. Presence of gastric gland in the lamina propria secretes enzyme and hydrochloric acid. Pylorus, deepened gastric pit, contains simple branch or glands which are coiled. Shallow gastric pits in cardia, shallow gastric pits occupying superficial 1/4 in stomach, and deep gastric pit occupying 2/3 in pylorus. Change of epithelium from stratified squamous to esophagus. Epithelium is simple columnar in fundus and body, and in pylorus the epithelium is simple columnar. Very important. The circular muscle layer is thickened and is called the pyloric sphincter. So next time we are going to start with the small intestine. Thank you.